Greetings and a huge welcome to today's show. My name is Ariella Indigo and I'm your host for Season 2 of the Multidimensional Human Experience Global Summit. And we are blasting wide open the summit today with our first of over 20 interviews about all things Ascension related and about how to advance in our personal spiritual evolution. So I invite you to sit back, plug in, and receive these divine transmissions as they come through. As I can guarantee you, there's going to be many activations and light encoded frequencies joining us to help you to integrate these teachings. And I know that by the end of these 21 days, many things are going to look and feel quite different in your reality after we all go through these leaps in consciousnness together throughout the whole of our summit journey. And leading the pack of these incredible wisdom sharings is one of my new favorite way showers and beloved fellow starseeds, Lori and Spagna, who I'm pretty much in love with her, work and her divine mission after signing up to a few of her courses now. She's got some seriously awesome knowledge to share with us, all about ascension and about multidimensionality. So please allow me just a few moments to formally introduce my guest. Then Laurie's going to take this away and expand our awareness about the ascension process dramatically in about 60 minutes. So Laurie Spagna is a best-selling author, a spiritual teacher, ascension guide, awesome being, I put that in there, multidimensional channel, intuitive, healer, animal communicator, visionary, light worker, and starseed. And she radically transformed her life after a series of near-death experiences whilst living in Maui. Laurie has over 20 years experience serving humans and animals. She does some really amazing work with animals as well, all around the world. And she also provides sacred energy activations, sacred key code and DNA activations, healing transmissions, sacred key code activations. I really want to speak to you about that, Laurie. And also DNA upgrades for people and animals. So, Laurie, a very warm welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being...
Well, Ariella, thank you so much for having me. You're such an angel and such a sweetheart, the way you introduced me. So I'm really excited about our sharing today. And I'm certainly really excited to be part of this amazing summit and your tribe, especially because I just know this tribe, this community that we're connecting with is like my home family, as I feel you are. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Oh, thanks for having me so much. Yeah, I've loved our connection, and I just know this is going to be a great interview. I can't wait to share it with our tribe. So, Laurie, I'd love to ask you first of all just to share some of your background, because I know you've got some incredible experiences on your own ascension journey, and how you also came to connect with your own mission.
Well, I'll give you I'll do my best to give you the abbreviated version. So in about almost 15 years ago, my brother died of an unexpected drug overdose. And at the time that he crossed over, he basically came to me in the non-physical realm and started communicating with me. At that time, I wasn't really fully aligned with what I was here to do. He was my activator. And through his messages, he basically was saying, you have to change your ways and really get aligned with, and those weren't the words, but get on your right path. And he initially started sort of teaching me from the non-physical realm. And then what ended up happening was, after that, I quit my job. I relocated to Maui, and I lived there for 2 years. And during those 2 years, I had a series of near-death experiences, not in a hospital, but definitely not just astral plane traveling, really dropping the body, completely transmuting the physical reality, the physical form. And also during that time in Maui, I had what I call an induction experience, which is that I basically was teletransported onto my home star family ship, where I got reactivated, reawakened, and massive amounts of like what I would call downloads. And these downloads were basically my star family instilling within me that which I needed so that I could be of service here. So I call myself a star seed because I was seeded here for this time to assist others through this awakening process. And so most of what I share is coming through either lessons that I learned from beings who have crossed over in the non-physical realm, including animals, or animals through animal communication and telepathy, or through my star family lineage, or else through other beings and dimensions of consciousness, including universal laws from the non-physical realm. Because what I always say is I'm interested in what is unknown to us in our physical reality. I'm interested in accessing information, which includes energy and various states of consciousness from the unknown realm and bringing it into our realm so that we can know it. And when I say know, I don't just mean like left brain knowing, I mean embodying a whole new way of knowing. So anyway, those 2 years in Maui radically transformed me. And after that, everything shifted. And since then, I've just been, doing this work, assisting people and animals to awaken, to align, to heal and resolve those aspects of us that are still in separation and duality and still functioning from the old paradigm of consciousness. And just simply by shifting perspective, anchoring into the new paradigm, downloading source consciousness, clearing, healing, resolving, we level up and we realign to a whole new way of being, a whole new kind of existence. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell.
Amazing journey. Thank you so much for sharing. Laurie, what is your take on ascension? Because people have different understandings of this, and I'd love to hear how you understand ascension. What is it? What is the point of it?
Yeah. Well, ascension is a label that was given by the spiritual metaphysical community for the evolutionary shift, which is happening on planet Earth. This evolutionary shift is extremely real. It's happening regardless of whether humans are conscious of it or not. It's happening across all of our existence. It's happening on a spiritual level. It's happening to our physical bodies. It's happening in our societal structures. It's happening cross-cultural. All cultures are shifting. It's happening economically. Our whole economic systems are shifting. It's happening in terms of government, world governments, across all structures, all platforms, planet-wide and beyond our planet. It's happening intergalactically throughout our entire galaxy and throughout our entire dimension of reality. It's happening, which includes many galaxies beyond even ours. And it's even affecting us interdimensionally and extra-dimensionally, which means multidimensional. We are not, the magnitude of this evolutionary shift is beyond, it's epic. It's beyond our current level of consciousness of what we fully understand. So that's what ascension is. And to be more specific, to ground it into our reality, really what ascension is where each and every individual is going through a massive shift in terms of our consciousness and in terms of the way we experience life and in terms of the way we perceive existence. So that's happening for us not only as a collective, but as individuals. So the other thing about ascension that's relevant too, to say is that not only is our body changing and our minds, the way we think and perceive things and the way we navigate our reality, we're shifting from left analytical brained creatures to heart-centered creatures who are really heart-based, really shifting from just functioning from a very limited capacity of consciousness, which is like, from a 10% brain consciousness to full consciousness to the degree that we're capable. But it's also changing the way we experience and navigate life. So in other words, the old paradigm is that we navigated our reality from five senses, and from this state of consciousness that if you couldn't see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, it didn't exist. And everything was space. There was a space between us. The space and the distance is its own dimension of reality. Third dimensional consciousness is where we're coming from, which includes space, light, and sound. That's everything in our reality. And this, even space, includes a perspective of time, because, you know, from this date to this date is a space, right? All of that exists in a third dimensional reality. But now we're up leveling and up shifting to anchor into a fifth dimensional reality, which we'll talk about today. And then beyond. But that's ascension. I mean, that's a lot right there. That's a lot to wrap our brains around, but it's actually quite simple. Really, it's just a shift in our entire consciousness.
So thank you for that. I'd love to go deeper into that. You mentioned about 5D there, and many people talk about a shifting into 5D. What is the difference between 5D and ascension, or where does that come into the whole ascension process?
Yeah, well, 5D, when you're anchored into 5D, like the whole process of ascension is really, in my mind, it's really to anchor us into 5D. So, and there's way more beyond 5D, but when we talk about 5D, fifth dimensional reality, what we're talking about is an energetic space, a range of energetic vibrations, which are frequencies of energy, energetic frequencies of these vibrations of energy that are very high and light in terms of the way they feel and the way we experience them. So these frequencies are harmonious with frequencies of love, peace, kindness, compassion, harmony, and unity consciousness, and of course service to the greater good. So the idea is, you know, you're basically up leveling to a whole new range of frequencies. Whereas in third dimensional consciousness, the frequencies that we vibe into are fear-based. In third dimensional consciousness, we're afraid, we have anxiety, we're worried, we could be control freaks, we're trying to figure it all out, we're trying to make sense of things, we're trying to, what do I do? How do I function? How do I live? That frequency of the third dimensional based reality, it's all fear-based. Whether most people don't realize that that's how they're functioning. You know, guilt, shame, regret, remorse, those are all vibrational energies that are in harmony with fear-based energies that anchor you into 3D. So the process of anchoring and up-leveling into 5D, so that you're love-based, love and peace-based, that means you have to anchor into the heart center. That's where love and peace really comes from. It doesn't come from here. You can think I love you all day long and it will help you, but it's not enough to fully anchor you. Because the thought frequency is not even magnetic enough. This is an electrical frequency. And in 5D, it's a magnetic frequency based in love. So we're basically transmuting all that fear-based thought patterns, electrical anxiety type of energy, into this more emotional love-based energy. And then we anchor into that. And I'll just say this last thing about 5D. In that vibrational range, really painful, harmful, detrimental, unpleasant experiences they are not sustainable there.
Right.
They're not sustainable. So if you have unpleasant things here, they immediately kind of collapse. They just don't last. They won't be perpetuated or supported in this reality. That's why those of us who are really well anchored here absolutely know there's no World War III in our future. There's no death in this reality. There's no disease. There's no suffering. This is a beautiful love-based reality where things are exciting, where we're full of optimism, we're full of hope, we're full of inspiration. And we know that everybody else who's vibing in harmony here also has that.
Love that.
And we know that everybody else is on their way too, because ascension is real. Everybody's on their way there. Make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So what is the difference in terms of 5D, full ascension, enlightenment, liberating from Earth's incarnation cycle?
Well, do you mean, okay, what is the difference in terms of liberating out of? Earth's ascension. Can you ask that in another, with a little more?
Yeah. So in 5D, if you ascend to 5D in your personal journey, does that mean that you are considered to be enlightened at that
Yeah. Okay,
point?
good.
And are you considered to be fully liberated from Earth's reincarnation cycle?
Yeah. Okay, this is awesome. So first of all, let's just make this clear. Enlightenment takes 30 seconds, not even an instant. You want to be enlightened? You already are, but let's just enlighten everybody. If anyone's not, we are dreaming. This is a dream. We think it's real. We've been operating as if physical reality is real. We're not. We are dreaming. We are the dreamers, the creator God of infinite light, infinite love, infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, having a dream, creating itself in untold, unlimited ways, which we experience in the physical reality. You're enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's enlightenment. I mean, if you really take that in, because I remember when I learned that, I was running around the streets of Maui for like weeks being like, I've been enlightened. Like, can you imagine? This is like 15 years ago or something, 12 years ago. And I'm like running through the streets like I've been enlightened, because I did not know we were dreaming. Like, this is a dream. All of this is,
Yeah.
and we could say it's a holographic creation. We could say that too.
Mm-hmm.
But once you really let that sink in, you're enlightened. But that doesn't mean you've ascended. So ascension is the process of really working through all of those egoic identifications, all the beliefs, all the perspectives, the points of view, the ideologies, the judgments, the shadow aspects, the archetypical patterns, the behavioral patterns, thought structure, all of that stuff that keeps us buying into, on an unconscious level for the most part, even some degree conscious, the third dimensional paradigm of separation. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I mean the belief system, everything that makes us think this reality is real and that we're physical beings only having a physical experience, and you're separate from me and I'm separate from you, and we're separate from the divine and separate from one another, and we're powerless, stuck in our small little boxes of being like, slave driver, victim, victimizer, whatever those programs are that are running, that we don't even identify as programs. We're just, so that is the process of ascension, where we identify all those shadow aspects of our behaviors and our attitudes, etc. We identify them, and then we start looking at them with higher consciousness and healing and resolving them and transmuting them in some way, so that we're no longer anchored into that reality, because those are energies, just like a web, an entanglement, hooks and entangled energy that keeps us trapped in that, because we don't even realize we're entangled in it like a knot. Mm-hmm. So ascension is the process by which we untangle and disengage from that. We still keep our physical body, and we channel through so much more divine light, divine consciousness. And through that process of our own ascension process, we are liberating ourselves. Mm. We are liberating ourselves from that reality, even though we still witness that reality. We can still witness everybody else who's still in that reality, who maybe we are aware they haven't fully, or maybe they are still going through their ascension, or they're in process, or wherever we are in our journey. It's not like we don't see that. We just no longer have that same experience. We're having an entirely different experience than someone who might be standing right next to us, who still believes in all that separation. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, yeah, because we're all having such a unique experience.
Yes, it's so unique. Yes.
Everybody is completely different. And I love in your teachings, in your courses, you give some really great methods of how people can break free of these contracts, and how they can start to transmute some of these blockages. Yes. You've done so much work around this. I mean, just perhaps for the viewers watching, is there any techniques, any pathways, any methods that you could share with them now, which would help to shift them so that they can free themselves of some of this 3D density?
Yes. Okay. First thing is start claiming sovereignty, and use the words literally. I claim sovereignty. I claim my sovereignty, and use the words, I liberate myself from the third dimensional reality. That's first. Why? Because if you're not claiming sovereignty, you will be entangled in it. Someone else will claim sovereignty over you. Because that third dimensional paradigm is a paradigm based also in control, domination, and manipulation, where we give our power away to others. That's part of that reality. So other forces who will claim ownership over you, or will claim sovereignty over you, they will claim to be your leader, your government, teachers, lawyers, doctors. They will claim that they have control over you. And you will believe them in that reality, because that's how that functions. So number one, claim sovereignty and claim liberation over your mind, over your body, over your emotional state, your mental state, and even over your dream time. Claim sovereignty, and do it often. Do it often, because after a while you won't need to keep doing it, but just do it for a while. Understand that when you claim sovereignty, what you're basically saying is, I'm willing to become a citizen of the world. I'm willing to be in my integrity. I'm willing to be responsible. I don't need somebody to control me, because I'm willing to be not in control of myself, but aligned with the highest and best version of myself. So that brings me to the second thing. This is so good. Ask your own high self to align you with the highest and best version of yourself. Ask, because just by asking, you're giving consent to your own higher self to align with the highest and best version of yourself. And it's good to ask it for it to happen most benevolently.
Yes.
Most benevolently, because you can be, put in some hard corners sometimes that source is trying to realign you, and you don't know why you keep bunking into a wall sometimes, you're like, why do I keep bunking into a wall? And it's because source is like, well, don't go that way, go that way. But if you ask the most benevolent way possible, that will make it a little softer and smoother, right? Yeah. So that's the second thing. Third thing, and I can go on like this forever, so we'll stop at 3, at least for now. One of the best things you can also do is to start working with the field of intelligence. Very few people realize how incredibly powerful we are to start working with the field of intelligence. So the field of intelligence is mental consciousness that's running in, through, and around us all. It's everywhere, and it will respond to us. But we don't know that it will. We don't always realize. So you just respectfully command the field of intelligence for what you agree or don't agree with. So for example, a really simple example is when I go into the grocery store, I'm constantly walking through the grocery store. I don't care if people hear me. I mean, if you want to, you can put your earphones in and, say it like to your phone. I'm respectfully requesting, respectfully commanding that more organics are available. I'm respectfully requesting and respectfully commanding to completely eliminate and completely eradicate genetically modified foods in the most benevolent ways possible, and for the highest and greatest good of all beings. I'm working with the field of consciousness. When I'm walking through TSA, I am respectfully commanding that consciousness is restored to all humans, that we no longer believe, we no longer give our power away to an outside authority posing as Al-Qaeda, al-CIA, like we don't need that. When we start realizing that we are the safekeepers, we are safe within ourselves as we choose to align with integrity and honesty. We don't need an outside force to protect us through fear, domination, and control. So I'm respectfully requesting, respectfully commanding the field of intelligence to bring more consciousness to all of humanity. That's a great tool. Start using the field. I'm respectfully requesting and respectfully commanding that all waters on the earth are cleansed, blessed, bathed, purified, harmonized, divinitized now. I'm respectfully commanding that for the earth, all of the earth is restored to its ideal and optimal state of health and well-being. These are things we all have the power to do, because the field will respond to our command. Make sense?
It does. And it is one of the reasons, as you know, why I love your teachings, because sovereignty and understanding yourself as a God being, I mean, I love your expression, you know, Laurie often says you are God in a body. And I love that, because it's like, yeah, of course you are, but you can forget that. So what, there's nothing you can't do, right? I love your command codes with all of this stuff. They're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
What I would like to ask, and this is something which I still struggle with a bit, and I'd love to get your take on this, and perhaps the viewers can identify. When we are managing our thoughts and managing our emotions and choosing words and thoughts which are more empowering for us, in those times where we perhaps don't feel like that inside, how can we stay in authenticity and be our true selves, but yet also come from a place of empowerment and sovereignty? You know what I'm saying? When we don't always feel that way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, is to be honest with yourself, because a lot of times we're like afraid to acknowledge our shadow aspects. So we want to repress and deny the things that are shadowy.
Mm.
And so, you know, especially this whole movement of being like all positives, it's, as far as I'm concerned, kind of toxic, because it'll just keep you on a dead end path. If you don't acknowledge your own shadow, if you aren't willing to work with and embrace the shadow aspects of who you are, and I mean each and every one of us, even the collective, then we end up in that suppression denial, which will put us into a state of ignorance. And then we're just dancing with the dark, not even knowing, pretending it's not there. So the first thing is to embrace it. Just simply be like, wow, I'm recognizing I'm in this little battle with myself right now. I don't want to acknowledge that. Or what is it with asking questions is fabulous. What is it within me that's thinking this thought? What is it within me that's feeling this way? What is this going on? Just ask with honest inquiry. And even, you know, when I'm personally challenged with things, you know, my own shadow aspects, I'm sometimes surrendering to the divine. Like, I'll be, you know, in my most sort of humble self, like, this is really challenging for me, creator, God, divine source. Please be more gentle with me on this. I'm navigating. It's a little scary territory for me, or I'm uncertain. And I know that I'm a light bearer. Like, I'm just there. Like, I know that I'm a light bearer, and I know I'm meant to navigate this, but I'm so unclear. Give me some clarity on this. Bring some clarity. When you go to that humble part and you are willing to just lay it there, like, this is scary to me, or this is frightening, or this is unclear to me. Bring in some consciousness here, bring in some clarity. That right there is like you're inviting the divine to work with you on those parts that are, you know, that you're uncertain about. The challenge is, what we do is we try to suppress and deny. And whenever we do that, we get into this kind of like wrestling tug of a war match with our own self. We can't, because we're simultaneously being taught, you know, this, we still, especially in the United States, we have this like still this leave it to beaver kind of attitude. Like, everything's supposed to be all, you know, roses, you know, always positive. Like, the whole law of attraction movement is such a joke, because, you know, just keep being positive. When meanwhile, you know, you got all this shadow stuff you have to work with.
Yeah.
So you have to really be willing to engage and just work with your own shadow. Like, you're welcome here, shadow. Like, you are the love. We are the love that is so great that even our shadow can be loved. I teach people, like, embrace your shadow and just, you're welcome here, shadow. I love you. You're accepted here. I'm willing to accept my own shadow. I'm willing to embrace my own scary aspects. I'm willing to acknowledge my own fear-based aspects. Because I am the love that's even greater than those, that can welcome them home into me. And I think that's what we all are waking up to here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Because yeah, it is so important, isn't it, that we integrate the dark as well as the light. That is how we are ascending as well.
Yes.
So and I think that's great, because yeah, in some spiritual communities that isn't always spoken about.
Yes.
It's a bit kind of old paradigm now.
Yes. I once had a brief conversation with this gentleman who had not worked with his shadow. And we ended up in the car together at one point. And I was making a comment about something that he perceived to be, he was in so much judgment about the thing I was commenting on, which was just smoking. That, you know, I was a smoker for many, many years, and I quit smoking permanently when I got aligned to a source. It actually was very easy. I was trying to quit smoking for 10 years. And then once I got aligned to a source in Maui, that just was gone. It was like, I just wasn't me, because I was pulling in so much love and so much light. My body wouldn't even tolerate it. And I remember that part of, excuse me, what I had to clear out was programs associated with death wish, because
Okay.
I didn't know that at the time. But if you're smoking, typically speaking, there's a death wish in there. And I made that comment to him about smoking, and he immediately perceived me to be judging smokers. But from my perspective, I was just pointing out a knowing.
Right.
No judgment, no right or wrong, no, not good or bad. It's an experience. So I think part of also working with the shadow is to recognize these are just experiences that we went through in the third dimensional paradigm of separation. There is no right or wrong about it there. There's not a judgment of good or bad. There's simply, it is what it is. The other thing I'll say about that, I think maybe I got a little off tangent here, but it's worth saying. There are universal laws. Those laws, we have to know them to anchor fully into 5D, because those become the new laws that we follow. It's not that we would break laws in the third paradigm. In fact, it's not necessary to break laws. It's just that we align ourselves with universal laws. And one of the laws that works with me very closely is the law of truth. The law of truth will never lie. And it will just give you the truth. And it doesn't dance around egos. It doesn't sit there and say, oh, I know it's okay that you smoke. It just gives you the truth. And that's where I got that. I got that from always asking for the truth. And now that's one of the things the law of truth taught me. Well, you have to clear out the death program that will help you quit smoking. So I was just in Maui, I remember saying, well, take it away. I don't want it. Take it, clear it from me. And that's part of how I learned to do clearings. Anyway, giving you a story, but yeah, these laws, they're conscious of themselves. So.
Yeah. Same thing happened to me when I went through my awakening, my multidimensional activation. I was a smoker before, and then my body just couldn't tolerate it, and I stopped. I think many of us starseeds have quite a lot of that death wish program.
Yes. Well, we're clearing it. We're clearing it for generations, so we're carrying so much of that stuff in our own DNA and, for our ancestors. And as we clear, heal, and resolve it within ourselves, we actually, that's part of our role here, right? We have sacred contracts to clear it for our lineage when we really learn how to do that.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about DNA, please, and also Kundalini. If you could shed some light on how our DNA and Kundalini, what part they play in us ascending.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the DNA first, because that's a big deal. So the first two strands of DNA basically store up the information from our lineage, right? That's your ancestral DNA, basically information that was passed down through generations. And it's not necessarily true, but you could have something in your DNA, for example, that says Parkinson's runs in your family. But what really is at the root of Parkinson's is generations of being over-criticized and over-corrected. So if you have generations of ancestrals that have overcorrected and over-criticized, you get locked up in this kind of like, I can't move forward, I can't move backward, I don't know what to do, I'm afraid to get over-criticized. And then you can't, that's why people have Parkinson's, but it's stored up in their DNA. And of course, people with Parkinson's don't know this unless they're healers, in which case they're going to be healing it. But so we can, for me as a healer, I can identify that in the DNA, and I can clear it and everything that it's entangled with and enmeshed with, and all the other belief systems of the DNA. I can clear it for all the ancestors as well. So anyway, that's the first two strands of DNA, right? We want to clear all that stuff because it's basically what keeps us anchored into third dimension. It doesn't mean you lose your blue eyes, but it could mean that your blue eyes might change. It could mean that suddenly, your blood test no longer shows something that used to be in there. It could mean that you no longer have anything that says you have diabetes anymore. Or you're no longer, there's any kind of cancer genes. You can clear that stuff from the first two strands of DNA. Now, which is fabulous for us. Yay. No more sickness in our future. When people get conscious of this, we're talking about eradicating sickness. How long does it take for an entire population to learn this? It's not that long though, because yes, and it's even deeper than belief systems, because belief systems are just formed from repeating beliefs. But then you create programs, and there's also implants. I mean, implants from aliens and all kinds of stuff. We can go into that. But let's talk about the other 10 strands of DNA, because there's another 10 strands of DNA that are physical, that science has validated. We know they're real, and we know from credible scientific journals that they're dormant. And those dormant DNA strands can also be awakened. And as they are awakened through very high light frequency energy, that really you have to start with someone who knows what they're doing to get enough of it awakened. You have to start with someone who can hold those frequencies energetically to awaken them with consciousness. As we awaken more and more of that, we start revealing our greatest gifts, our greatest talents, superhuman abilities, things we are not yet even aware of, and certainly for sure our divine missions, our divine purpose. That's all in the DNA. Our extrasensory abilities, our ability to teletransport and bilocate, and a gazillion other things. Plus, here's the best part, perhaps, maybe, is at least for sure, each of us has coded within us solutions to the world's problems. So in 3D, you think the world's going to hell in a handbasket because you don't have that awakening. But in 5D, we know we have all the solutions, and we know that they're happening, and they're beautiful and glorious. And as more and more of us awaken, more and more of that is already resolved. Yeah. So, and then beyond 12 strands, I know I'm going really long here, but we can go beyond 12 strands too. It's just that science right now doesn't have the equipment to see beyond the first 12 strands, but for sure we have way more than 12 strands. And all of those strands represent our ability to connect with other dimensional states of consciousness. So the more DNA we have activated, the more we've cleared out our own first two strands, the more of us, the more we're able to see, sense, feel, connect other, beyond these dimensions of reality, and beyond even what we can even fathom. I mean, what is in the unknown realm that we don't know yet? That's what we're just beginning to access.
It's
to me, that's what I'm most passionate about. Yeah, it's so exciting.
Yeah. And how does our DNA get activated then? I mean, I know that with the planetary energies coming through, that's doing a lot of it, right? There are DNA activators. You're one of them. I'm one of them. There are many others. And people can do it themselves. But can you give us some more insights as to how
well, let me say this. The light that's coming in from what we would say I'm high, or from other dimensional realms, higher, lighter dimensional realms, that's coming into this reality, and also through the sun, the light of the sun, of the Son of God, that is activating, awakening, and clearing. But it's not automatically turning on and activating the DNA. You actually have to actively participate in this stuff. Your DNA doesn't get activated just because you look at the numbers and the clock says 111 or 222 or something like that. That's not what does it. You actually have to have some conscious engagement with it, because you have to level up with these higher, lighter frequencies. And the best way to do that, especially in the earlier phases, is with a light worker who already knows how to do it. Why? It's not that we can all do it ourselves. Yes, we all have that potential. But in the early stages, the whole point of beings waking up in waves, we're waking up in waves. why are we doing that? Because the reason we use the word light worker is because part of the reason anyway is someone says, hey, here's the light, follow the light. Because someone back there who's still in the shadows, like, I don't know where to go, it's dark in here. And someone who's already activated and awakened, they're like, I've got the light's right here, I am the light, follow the light, come on, this is the light, it's all really good, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I just want you to know how much wonderful light and love there is here. So everybody else is like, oh, there's the light. This is the whole point. You know, it's like you initially in the early stages, I mean, I don't want to disempower someone. We do all have that ability. But I've had a bazillion people tell me like, well, I just sort of stare at the clock and see 111 and I say I'm activating my DNA. You really need to access super high light frequencies, and you need to really anchor it into your body and being and help and let somebody else help you to shift out the density. There's lots of ways to do it. I know the way I learned it was through my star family races, because no one taught me. I never was taught how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It was activated within me from my star family.
Mm-hmm.
They did it for me initially. It was not for anything. If I didn't have them do that for me, I don't think I would have known how, at least not initially. I would have found my way eventually, but that was the agreement. So to me, that's the best way to start, so that you can learn how, and you can get enough of it activated within you. And then, it comes online and you start knowing within you.
Yeah, no, very similar happened to me. It's interesting interviewing starseeds because there's quite a lot of similarities actually with stories. What I'd love to hear about are the sacred key codes. I'm not familiar with these. What's all that about?
Well, we've actually already touched on a little bit, but in the DNA, really, if you think about the first two strands we talked about, and the first few strands after the first two, typically those are just your intuitive knowing starts to come online, your extrasensory abilities, your empathic nature, your divine mission, realigning with your more ideal state of health and well-being, your attunement to higher frequency food and water. You start becoming more discerning. You start being able to tell, your bullshit meter starts getting stronger. Those are the first few strands. But as you start getting deeper into the DNA, you realize there are certain key codes that are encoded in your DNA. Those key codes are what activate, I believe, in my experience, it's more of the richer, fuller, extra dimensional abilities that we have within us to access and fine tune our knowings, fine tune our awareness. We become extra crisp, extra tuned in.
Yeah.
To higher, lighter dimensional frequencies, where we're really playing with interdimensional beings, extra dimensional beings. We start to be able to have multiple conversations, multiple dialogues in our consciousness all at once. I almost can't even begin to tell you the wealth of what's available to us. But we have to get through the first few strands first, and then we start activating those key codes, which really, wow, it's incredible. Those typically correlate with sacred geometry and sacred geometrical patterns. So anyway, that's how when I'm doing it, and it's always all orchestrated by source. I never take the credit for it, but I know that I will say this, I'm a fabulous facilitator, and I'm really good at taking information and direction from the non-physical realm, and also from animals and other benevolent beings, and translating that effectively for the physical reality.
I will vouch for
what's going on. Yeah.
I will vouch for that. She's very, very good. Yeah, there's a reason why Laurie's opening up this summit. I've really been blown away by your teachings, and they've helped me so much. And I want to thank you as a younger, starseed who's finding their way, because it has opened up so much for me, particularly around the sovereignty and really helping me to get in my power with all of the command codes. And Laurie and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling her about all of the big entity history that I've got, and Laurie's been an amazing conduit to help me to switch out of some of that stuff and just take it to the next level. So
well, can I say
yeah.
also thank you for that, Ariella? And I wanted to say too, I can always tell a star seed who's, popping like popcorn, activating, because true star seeds are, you see that in me, but really it is you it's just you reflecting at you. And a true star seed is always like, I always know, because you guys are just so beautifully, brilliantly grateful, acknowledging, humble, and at the same time, like just so vibrantly, like you're so vibrant. You're so light, you're so lit up. And it just makes me so happy and fulfilled and joyful to connect with other starseeds who are like activating, because that is that essence. It's glorious. It's not like there's no arrogance there. There's none of that like supremacy. There's just this wonderful humble gratitude. And I know when I was really waking up, that's how I was. And a lot of people would perceive that humble gratitude as like this kind of inferiority, but it's not that at all. It's you seeing you, welcoming you home to you, being grateful, acknowledging, and that's just so brilliant. And it just lights me up too. It's beautiful. Awesome. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know we've got many people in this tribe who are watching this who are starseeds as well. Not all starseeds. We've got many amazing light workers and earth seeds, and everybody's just fabulous, I think, who finds their way to these types of summits, who plugs into these transmissions, and everybody's just so on their path. So
yeah.
Laurie, I want to transition now into your incredible free gifts. There's two awesome free gifts, and it's just like such a beautiful progression from what we've just been talking about, right?
Yes. So, there's two free gifts. So the first one is a free class on learning if you are a star seed, a light worker, a way shower, like understanding what those terms are. They're just terms, but they do help you to understand and kind of anchor into that language, because one of the most common things that happens is people who hear light workers and star seeds speak is they'll say things like, it's a foreign language. And just because it's a foreign language doesn't mean it's not your language. It just means you have to learn this new language, because if you're hearing it and if it's in your periphery, chances are you are it somewhere within you and it's starting to activate. So it helps to kind of understand, well, what is it? How do you know if you are one or if you're not? A lot of people say, I've been told that I am one, but I don't know if I am one. It's a good class for that. It's a really good class. So that is one of the free gifts. And I know you'll put the link up there. It's lauriespagna.com/free gifts starseed. And then the other free gift is the dormant DNA. So it really goes into the dormant DNA, unlocking, awakening, activating, what it's all good for, how do you know how to do it? How do you learn how to do it? What happens when you do it? Because a lot of people actually, this is one of the big things. And I just say this about the DNA. People think they can turn on 144 strands all at once, or 244, or 333, 222, 330. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I don't think you can turn it all on at once. Our bodies cannot handle that. We would be what I always say, floppy fish syndrome, which is like, your floppy fish body can't handle that much charge all at once. You'd be like sticking your finger in an electric socket. You have to do it a little at a time so your body can attune and acclimate to it so you can integrate it. Otherwise, you end up getting these massive like vertigo and all this kind of ascension symptoms. So anyway, that class helps you understand that, and spagna.com/free gifts/DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you'll send the links for that. So
yeah,
on the summit. So
yeah.
they don't have to remember it. I just, yeah.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah.
sometimes the free.
But those are 2 free gifts.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you. And I want to encourage all of the viewers who are watching this to click on the 2 links that I'm sending you in today's email, which will take you right to Laurie's page so that you can access that. So yeah, unlocking, awakening, and activating your dormant DNA. That's an MP3 class. And the second free gift is, are you a light worker, starseed, guardian, or way shower? And that is a free gift, but also an MP3 class, but also an ebook. And I know how liberating, I mean, people say about labels, and I get it, but you know what, if you're in a denser realm, learning that I was an indigo was one of the most liberating days of my entire life. You know,
Yes.
it just took me out of a whole load of funky belief patterns that I'd previously had. So it really does help. So I know that's going to be really valuable for people who are watching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And there's also actually even a little bit in there about the whales and the dolphins and some of the Sirius A, Sirius B, the planetary relationships in the Pleiades. So it goes even into that stuff. It's real fun.
Laurie's content is deep and it is rich. It's, yeah, you don't hold back. I mean, there's so much that comes through. So I know this is an abundant offering that we're giving to our viewers today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love teaching. So thank you. I'm glad I get to offer it and share it.
So, Laurie, is there anything before we finish today's interview? I just want to invite you. Is there anything that you want to say to the viewers, or anything that just comes through that you want to add about Ascension, or about anything you're working on, or anything at all?
Oh my goodness. Well, the one big thing I would say is to just stay the course, because even though there's a lot of, it seems like sort of detours, those detours are always just aspects of source asking us to get richer and go deeper into our own consciousness to expand. Everything these days is really about expansion, even if we have momentary blips where we feel like we're contracting. And the overall objective is really just to bring us into our heart center of love and to know and embody ourselves and experience ourselves and another as love, just and peace. And one thing I know for sure is that it's not a pill. It doesn't happen overnight. But as we stay the course, it is so deeply, richly fulfilling and rewarding. And I never thought I would say that. I was working through that for so long. I still, it's worth it. It's all worth it. And our future is really exciting and bright. I would just say not to give our power to anyone who is sharing doom and gloom stories, not to resist or react to it, but just simply to embrace it as an aspect of a perspective. That's not the total picture. It's only a teeny little blip. That to remember that we are on a collective timeline, which is like an agreement where we are headed into a beautiful, magnificent awakening for all of humanity, for all beings, plants, minerals, and animals, and all of Mother Earth and beyond. And it's bright and it's exciting and it's joyful. And I just stay the course, just stay with it. And just remember we are all the love that we're awakening to. We are it. It's really, that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that amazing inspiration. Thank you for your honesty as well. I love the way that you open up and let these truths come through. And I just want to thank you so much for being here, for doing this interview with me. I want to thank all of the viewers watching. Thank you so much for plugging in and getting this first transmission as we open up the summit. And keep on watching, just set aside 45 to 60 minutes each day for the next 21 days. The interviews are going to be up for 48 hours each, and then we're taking them down. So Do set aside some time to plug into these transmissions. We've got more amazing spiritual leaders, way showers, teachers sharing with you on all aspects of the ascension process. There's something there for everybody. So please keep on tuning in. More free giveaways, more incredible offers, more ways to expand and evolve.
And I just want to say thank you so much again for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm so happy to know you too, Ariel, because I just think you're such a beautiful being, and I'm happy and grateful for our connection.
Oh, I told you she was great.
You're so sweet.
All right, guys. Well, namaste. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
I will see you tomorrow.